The first time we've done one of these, a review of somebody's recorded run, and it's Geg, of course, who's been struggling, battling to become the best blood DK in the world. We're going to do our darndest to get him there, and we're going to be taking a look at his Plaguefall 10. So if you haven't seen some of these videos, he's really trying to get better at blood DK, doesn't have a lot of hours to play, and he's still pretty undergeared, I'll have to say. I was surprised to see he's only 208 item mob, which is actually lower than my Paladin now, so kind of surprising. I only really play for like 3 or 4 hours a week on my character. I just gotten lucky, I guess, but yeah, so he's battling out there trying to get better doing this Plaguefall 10. Before we start, I want to tell you a little anecdote about this to give you a preface of it. So we got together. I've been helping him do keys. Came on my Paladin. I said, let's do a halls, because he literally has never done like a halls, like I guess like ever. So we did the key. He had a lot to learn. We walked him through it. We did as much as we could to help him. And we were supposed to do a halls 10, right? So it says halls 12. When we joined the group, said halls 10. The rogue was the group leader, but the mage in the group put his 12 key in instead of the rogue's 10. It's like, wow, that's the kind of stuff that you would only see in this key level. That's just ridiculous. That's the kind of stuff you're battling out there. So, people who are like, oh, I can't believe you can't finish at 10 or something like that. That's life. It's tough. Not only the player behind the computer, but there's also a lot of other factors. So anyway, yeah, we're going to take a look at this footage. Right out of the gate, you're going to see some jarring issues. Let's put it that way. And he said, these were his words, I'm ready to be roasted. So fair game, whatever you guys want to say. But yeah, I'd say we get right to it. Immediately, I think, before we even get started with the actual combat, you're going to see some odd stuff going on here with the UI. So I talked to him about this. It seems like he said he's playing on like a 17-inch monitor or something, smaller screen. And I don't know if that's the culprit here, but frankly, the real estate on the screen is absurd. Let's get started on the actual key here, close the bags. You're going to see right out of the gate, I mean, this is just very little actual screen real estate. I know people always criticize my UI, but the difference is I actually have pertinent information on the screen, whereas this is a lot of non-pertinent stuff, or I think it's just the UI scale. I'm not exactly sure if people know that they could change this, but yeah, you could actually make the Blizzard UI like way smaller, like to the point where you would probably struggle to see the bars. It can get very small. So that's an option, obviously, or you can just go for add-ons. Like right now, I can already see this block over here is just way too big. I mean, I don't know. This has to be the UI scale. You can also see the mini map. It's huge, absolutely giant compared to like most of the elements on the screen. And then the chat too. I mean, you can't see all of it because the webcam, but God, that is a long chat, my friend. So up to you, but I definitely think you're missing. You're not using much of this screen well, I feel like. And also we got kind of recount down here, not even using like details or anything, but recount. And the problem with that is it's very mediocre add-on, doesn't show you a lot of good data anymore. But it's also in a really bad spot. It's going to be underneath the tooltip, which, yeah, it's going to be difficult to use this add-on well. I think a lot of people just don't even use add-ons like this. Like Cop literally doesn't even use a details type add-on. And I understand why, but you really want to have this access this information quickly. Ideally, everybody would log every single moment of their combat and you would see it all in depth, right? Like when a mistake is made, you can quickly go find the answer to that. That's why these add-ons are on the screen. It's not just for like EP and stuff, But details is so much better than recount because of that same thing. It's basically like almost as good as logs. You could find almost every answer you want in details, and recount just doesn't have that. So yeah, step one, I would get rid of, I would get serious about some add-ons. You're going to see it. We might as well get started, but he's using like the default player frame as well, and like the personal bar as well. Step one, just go download Plater, man. It's the best add-on in the game. I can't believe that anybody would not use it. And the main thing is like it's super customizable. So even if you want to just say use like my setup on Plater, I'll give it to you. I have it in my UI. You literally just take my export and it works perfect. I mean, it should work. I've never exported it to somebody else, but like you set it up exactly to look like mine, and problem solved. I think you could even use the personal bar, but I would definitely recommend getting a weak aura or something static, because the problem with this Blizzard bar is it's going to move. It's going to constantly move. I don't really know like if there's a way to anchor it or something like that, but the bar in the middle of the screen there is going to be moving all around. It's based on the center of your character. So it was always kind of a pain. But yeah, a couple options there. Another thing you're going to see here is you can actually see he's got bars on the middle of the screen there. This is like an interrupt tracker. I think this is like DBM tracking this or something like this. Nah. Just use the weak core. I don't know. Maybe he's not using weak cores at all. Maybe we should have a whole discussion about UI, man. If you want to do that, we could sit down, have a whole discussion about UI. I don't want to turn this into a UI video, but yeah, no offense, but you got some big problems with your UI, and I would say that right now, out of the gate, not conducive to competitive content. Like, you got all kinds of stuff in bad spots, and you do not have anything tracking pertinent CDs and all that. So we have to talk about this. Could be a whole nother video. So let's go on. Let's talk about the dungeon for a little bit. So he's opening with one pack. Again, it's inspiring and storming. So not that it's very easy week really, but it could be difficult. He's pulling this one mob. It's not a bad idea because the next pack has an inspired mob in it. So you can't actually interrupt two really important mobs. One of them is this fungi stormer. DK is great at this. You could stun it. Grip does not work. It'll just move it. It won't stop the cast, but stun works. And then obviously other players in your class can do it. But with the inspired mob, it makes it impossible. So yeah, that's that. So now immediately we see an absolutely hilarious interaction here. So if you haven't noticed by now, he's playing actually with his brother, who is a holy priest, which is unfortunate. But we also have a druid in the group, currently a feral druid, and he goes, "Fuck, wrong spec. Keep going. Be right back." And this is actually a really big moment in the key. So this guy leaves the dungeon. He's actually talking about it in the voice part of this, but we won't include that. Yeah, he's talking about it. He's like, I didn't think he could switch specs, right? So he's going out to switch something. You can do that, but he's not changing from feral. He's still going to come back as feral. So I don't know what he's talking about. Probably wrong talents or something like that. But unfortunately, feral is such a bad spec right now for 5-man. It's almost troll. Like, I hate to say it, even for a 10. Like, it's just so rude. If you had a bombkin with trees, it would be so much easier. But here we go. We pull one of the hardest packs in the dungeon, frankly, because we have the Wonder Grow cast. We also have the Fungi Storm that's not interruptible because of the Inspiring Mob, and just a relatively hard-hitting pack in general. We pull them with 3 human beings. Well, 4 of them. One of them, the healer, who's not doing any DPS. He's a Holy Priest, done 0 DPS on this pack. Herp, I don't want to hear it, man. I'm telling you, Holy Priests do not do damage. But anyway, tell your brother to do some damage. Probably don't pull packs that are very difficult with 3 players, or 4 players total, no DPS. Really big error here, and he's dead. He's a Necrolord, so he's got this trait that, I don't know, what do you guys think about this? It's like he actually dies, but it like stalls his death. There's no way he could prevent it, but it stalls his death. I don't know what you guys think about that, but was that just a battle res used, by the way? I just saw Sabik Ragnaros resed. That guy just battle res, didn't he? Wait, hold on a second. We got to go back. We got to watch this one more time. The priest is resing him. Yes, that's a battle res. Hold on a second. Look at the hunter's walking. You see the hunter? He walks right over to him, and some lightning comes out of his hands. Wait, is this guy survival? Dude, this guy's got a 2-handed axe on. Oh, he's survival. What is going on in this key? Oh my god, I watched this twice already. I didn't even recognize this. This is a survival hunter, guys. And he just battle res the man out of combat. Oh no, wow. 10 suck. Oh my god. Anyway, alright, it's not that big of a deal. The guy's also a Frost Mage. So we got Frost Mage, Feral Druid, who's in the wrong spec. Now in the right spec, apparently. And a survival hunter. Is this a real key? Is this serious? I don't know if this is serious. Anyway, you're going to notice, if you haven't noticed it by now, if you have noticed it by now, you're probably screaming. He's got Mark of Blood. You guys know what the talent Mark of Blood is? I didn't think so. It's a talent. It's an interesting talent. They buffed it recently in Shadowlands. It's an interesting talent. But it's on the same row as Will of the Necropolis, or whatever the 30% reduction under 30% health is. That is a pretty important spell. We were talking about this when we did that 12 halls together. He constantly just kind of goes from 40 to dead. And I said to him, I'm like, man, you'd be surviving these if you had Will in the Necropolis. And he made some points about why he enjoyed Mark of Blood, but I don't really think he's using it well. Like, it's just not really a good spell for 5-mans. I feel like if you're going to use this spell, it'd be great in raids, because all it really does is eat up your damage globals in raids. Like, you'd be using it when the off-tank is tanking to try to heal him, or before you switch, or in periods of very low damage income, when all you'd be doing is damaging anyway. It's an interesting talent. I wouldn't take it myself. I tried it in the pre-patch a bit, but he has it in a 5-man. That is a progression key for him. That is step one. We've already talked about that, him and I. So another thing you're going to notice, clicking a lot of spells. And again, without any UI elements to be, indicating when his CDs are up, this kind of means he's not really looking at the screen properly. Like we have all of the information just on the bars. There's no add-ons, no weak ores really that's helping him with any of this stuff. So constantly probably looking down at the screen, constantly having to move his mouse down to make these plays. And, he does keybind a lot of it, but pretty much all the CDs, I mean, like D&D there especially, that's a huge, you really can't. D&D really needs, and I struggle with it alone just because I have to place it on the ground after how many times I've whiffed with it. He also has classic floating combat text, really just turning into a UI, bash my UI video. I hate to do it. There's a lot more going on here than just that, but anyway, let's focus on something else right now. He's got an interesting looking weapon on. A very astute observer might notice what that weapon is. I didn't until he told me about it. It's a polearm. He got traded it to him by a druid friend. Maybe it's this feral druid. I don't remember who he said it was. He got traded to him by a druid friend, and they did a spires or something like that. He said the druid didn't need it, and he traded it to him as an upgrade. So I think you can put 2 and 2 together there. Druid traded him an item, weapon. So it's wearing an Agi weapon in a 5-man, but no, also, that's life. Sometimes you wear an Agi weapon. Sometimes you have floating combat text that's blocking all the pertinent info on the boards. Like it's just life. That's how it goes. Anyway, they're killing this boss. This druid is actually doing really good damage. 9k DPS with pride and lust. Pretty good. Feral druid, fine. Not a problem. Survival hunter is also doing okay. Do they take wild spirits? I don't know what they do. But in terms of the dungeon, everything chalk so far. Other than the one big mistake, I would say this is pretty good. Now, this is like a pretty big moment here. I like how he's like trying to avoid standing in the slimes. That's you're thinking in the right direction here. But I think he's trying to do my exact route. We talked a lot about routes, but as you see, kind of clicking spells, probably diverting attention a lot. I assume there's a big problem, with his positioning and his overall attentiveness to damage income because if you're not really looking at the screen and your health bar, it's going to be a lot harder to actually use Death Strike well. But so also nothing tracking Death Strike, nothing tracking hemostasis, nothing tracking any of the pertinent defensive CDs, which are invaluable. I could not play the game without that Death Strike tracker, without hemostasis weak or without all these other stuff. So it's kind of surprising that you've gotten this far. And honestly, as stupid as it sounds, I think if you literally just spent some time improving your UI, you would be so much better. Like he's hungry, he's eager to play, but he just still struggling to understand some of the core concepts here. So a big mistake we just made. These plague boars are effectively, they're going to kill a pack. Right now, it's not as prominent in 10s. I will say, I think the lower the key, the less important this is because they literally don't do anywhere near as much damage as they do on higher keys. But he actually gets hit by the plague boar and down. Oh, he doesn't die. He doesn't die. He lives. He bleeds, but he doesn't die. But anyway, so he gets hit by the plague boar. So really what you want to do there is you want to try to use these plague boars to your advantage. Every time a plague boar or canister dies, it should be doing a substantial amount of damage to the pack, even on the lower keys. So you really got to play that well. And the best thing about DK, if you are going to get hit, you can just AMS, and you will not get the damaging dot on you, which is huge. I mean, you basically could stand in it. Obviously, you don't want to do that because you're still going to take damage anyway. It won't apply the dot because AMS will absorb it. But yeah, it would prevent you from accidentally moving the mobs out of the mechanic, like we just saw right there with that rigged plague boar. The plague boar did not get hit by the second one. So, but yeah, just start thinking about this. I was hesitant to do it at first, especially because on the beta, I got just farmed in this area. These mobs were very dangerous. They still are, but it's magic, most of it. So it's pretty easy to handle. But like killing this plague rock without either a plague boar or a canister on it, it's just inefficient, right? So if you're going to do this route, it's the route I've been doing anyway. So I figured let's try to maximize these things. And Blood DK is really good at it. So another thing you're going to see here, he keeps getting these diseases. Priest is not up on the dispels. The man's got 2 stacks of this. This is a really big problem, especially undergeared. Blood DK losing all the stats, really big issue. And bonk, right off the freaking head right there. He eats that wing buffet. So a couple small issues. Think the druid pulls this somehow. I mean, the druid's going to own up to it. He says something that I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but he does apologize. So I assume that means he pulled it. So we're already off route now, and this is going to be a big issue in this key. But luckily, Plaguefall, there's a lot of flexibility in the route, so it probably won't make too much of a difference. I know it doesn't end up making too much of a difference, but in your average key, it's not what you want to see. You know what I'm saying? So that mob is actually rooted, and he tries to death grip it. That's funny. Um, Welcome to Frost Mage. I mean, it's not like a bad thing, but this happens all the time when you play with mages. They root things and you try to grip them. It's the bane of my existence. So typically we would pull that big mob. I think he's going to elect to skip it, and I think it's going to work out. If I remember correctly, it is going to work out. So he's basically back on split here now. So they're going to charge in, pull this survival hunter is going to go full survival mode, charge in before the mob's there. And this man is just going to barely get there. I'm talking about, wow, it was that close. Mage just sneaks by, and that patrol is it's starving to find some tasty Orc Death Knight flesh, but he does not ever get close enough, so it doesn't aggro. So got a little lucky here. Typically that is a hard thing to skip, but he manages to skip it. But again, another advanced tip here, you can go down into the next area. You don't even need to CC one of these tentacles. It doesn't actually seem mandatory. I always thought it was. I thought if you pulled a Plague Borer, a tentacle would spawn, but that's not 100% the case. But yeah, definitely want to go down, dip in there, and get a Plague Borer. Even if you don't CC the tentacle, well, I guess if you pull the tentacle, you're going to wipe. So maybe you better be ready to CC it just in case. But getting a Plague Borer to kill this Pride is so big, and it's really not as difficult. Like, it sounds advanced, but it's literally just grip a Plague Borer. That's it. Be on the edge, grip a Plague Borer. Pride is going to die probably 50% quicker, as long as the Plague Borer explodes on the mob, which it doesn't always do. So anyway, they're going to go into a relatively problematic area for them. This is an interesting approach. He's coming behind the tentacle, and I think this ultimately causes more problems than he realizes, because you see he's got Super Strain on, which is a great legendary. I know we've had this talk, but because he he throws the disease at the target to aggro it, he spreads his disease to the slime tentacle and it aggroes. So they end up wiping here, I'm pretty sure, or very near to it. Priest dies. These other players are dying. The mage is dead. So yeah, that's something to consider. If you're going to fight him over there, you're going to aggro stuff, right? So you can't really do that. So now this is hilarious. So we battle res or something. I don't know what we do. Yeah, he battle reses the healer. It's a full wipe. I'm talking about like Omega wipe, Giga wipe, as Size would say. And we're using a battle res. Oh, no. So just basically wasted a battle res. Yeah, so he asked, how are we getting these tentacles? So one of them was you just got too close to him, and I don't know exactly about the disease part, but you definitely do not want to be tanking that first one on that inside. That's just asking for trouble. Always be as far away from that second one as possible, because you really cannot have two up at a time. And then that third one is the welcome to pugging, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but anyway, so we're gonna run back. That's a full wipe in a key. It's a 10. Oh, and we're gonna aggro that. Yeah, right. So let's see. So we come back and the mob's just here. And this is, unfortunate. You got lucky the first time. Now we're gonna just fight it. A little impatient. Probably nerves are setting in a bit after that wipe. But this is dead count, right? I mean, it's not really something that you want to pull. So unless it takes you like 10 seconds to kill it, it's probably better just wait, because it's not going to take you more than 10 seconds to skip it, right? But anyway, they do pull it. And that's that. But so he is Venthyr, he is on Necrolord as well. So I'm not really sure exactly how that is going to play in for DK strengths. That the Hunter just gets smacked by that, by the way. But Necrolord is interesting to me. As you'll see, it's providing a lot of offense for him. There's one pack in here particularly that I'm like, oh my god, he's doing so much offense. And it's because of the Necrolord stuff. But I'm kind of surprised at how low his Bone Shield stacks are. There's one thing that's noticeable about my gameplay in Shadowlands is that I'm very low on Bone Shield stacks all the time. And I just kind of can't find the right balance between Night Fae, Death's Due situation, and the Bone Shield situation. But he lets them drop a lot, lets them drop here, and then he's kind of catching back up. But I would just I would say, and again, I'm looking at this as just a UI problem. I would just try to get more central information on the screen. Like, that was a great AMS there, you know what I mean? But you had to click the spell. It's all the way in the bottom of your screen. You're not monitoring its duration. You're not monitoring its cooldown. Like, monitoring AMS's duration is huge, right? Because if you use it and it expires before the magic damage happens, you need to know that. That's going to change the way you pull the pack. But anyway. So now we're going here. This entry area is actually a little bit harder than it should be. He's kind of making it a little bit more complicated than he should be too. I would just go ahead and grip these things, especially, yeah, since you got the Necrolord ability. So he's going all out here. We got Rune Weapon used. Trying to get some big offense in, I suppose. Get these killed as fast as possible. It's mostly interrupts and casts, so Rune Weapon doesn't really help you on a pack like this. But it's a good idea, obviously. You don't want to just sit on Rune Weapon CDs. And then, yeah, good grip there. Just try not to let that thing run too far away because it could even pull more trash, or a lot of times people would just get baited into following it and then everybody gets out of position. So when we did this together, I alerted him to this. I think he knows it, but the dock is pretty close and he's going to jump over here. So you really want to make sure if you're going to fight on this platform, you're far away from where he jumps. And again, with Super Strain, it's a very real possibility that you could accidentally aggro this guy. For some reason, the Virulent Plague application is like way further than the other two dots. Like you can Blood Boil and hit something way outside of Blood Boil's range because when Blood Plague gets applied, it also applies Virulent Plague, and Virulent Plague's range is like 5 yards longer. So I don't know what the reality is there with pulling the boss, but I've seen it happen many times with this legendary on. It happens all the time on raid trash, actually. I notice it. I don't really use it in 5-mans, but anyway, we're coming up to actually a decent split. In my route, we don't normally take pride here, especially not on a fort week, but it's going to work out as long as they kill these evenly. I always look to see a good grip on the Plague Binder, which he doesn't do. That mob's a caster, so you definitely want to get that thing gripped over here. You get relatively, I guess, lucky. I don't really know how to describe that. The mob doesn't sit there and cast. Usually if I accidentally fail to grip it, it's just going to sit there and cast. But it didn't do that today. Maybe because line of sight or something, but another thing, the reason you didn't grip was because instead you used Death's Caress, which it's an option, right? I mean, obviously you could, but I think it's really just kind of a dead global to pull a mob. We have 2 different taunts, and you don't even really need to pull these. Like if you're not going to death grip one of these, then why use Death's Caress, right? Death's Caress costs a rune, and even though now we talk about this with rune tap all the time, like the first rune of the fight is oftentimes just going to recycle before it would become a problem. Like it's almost like a free rune, whatever one you open a combat with. But I still hesitate to believe it's a good idea to ever open with that, especially if there's more than one mob. You know, unless you're actually trying to spread diseases, I would just taunt, use actual Dark Command, and then in that case, you just go your Death Grip, right? Or you could even literally just run into mobs. I think you pull trash way too frequently. Oftentimes, just run into mobs. Drop D&D on the way and run into mobs. That's especially if I was not Night Fae, I would do that. Like I call it Global Zero. Drop D&D about 1 yard in front of the mob, and then aggro the mob with body, and it will run into your D&D, and you've effectively gained a free D&D. Like it's just on the ground for free. But anyway, so here we go. We're going over here. I can't remember exactly if this goes well, but he's spreading his diseases to the ad there. That's a really great idea, especially with Super Strain. Mob's going to jump all around. Let's see if it catches anyone, but no, he's doing a decent job here. Oh, they're pushing it. They pushed it so fast. Oh, this is right. I knew there was something bizarre here. They pushed it so freaking fast somehow. I mean, I don't even know how. I guess because it's a 10 fortified. They have a second purple add up. I've never seen this before. I actually don't know what you would even do here. But yeah, they wipe here. I remember this now. They have a second purple add up. Okay. And now you see this withering plague thing or whatever the hell it's called. It's very dangerous. It looks like Icebound Fortitude, but it is not. Icebound Fortitude is something much worse. Both smashes the healer. Just slam dunk Zion Williamson on him. Oh, and he's dead. He's a little angel. That thing will haunt my dreams. I'll tell you what, every time I see that angel, a little part of me dies. And so big mistake here regardless. Healer's dead, but in case you're unaware of this, that mob is casting, the boss is casting an incredibly dangerous cast constantly, okay? It's called Burning Strain. So if you're not aware of how this fight works, the purple slime comes out and it's there to kind of make the fight a little bit pesky. There's a couple ways to deal with it, but if we're just talking about like pugs, just tank it on the boss, okay? If you don't tank on the boss, if the primary threat target is not on the boss, he will just cast an incredibly dangerous like disease or something like this. And it's going to go on other players too. It's not just going to go on you. So definitely do not want to be away from the boss for more than a second or two, okay? So if you want to do, what you could is back out of range and then grip the purple away. let somebody CC it while it's there, and then go back. That's like the advanced strategy. But then we do the patented pull of the Plague Rock here. This happens all the time. And this is actually, I would classify this as a mistake. All right. So you've pulled it, just wipe. It's a wipe here. We do not want to be pulling extra trash. Okay. I know it's stupid to say that because in this case, it's really not worth a wipe. All 5 players are in combat. But look at the Hunter is just doing Ragnaros things. That dude's like just completely. I mean, he's still arguing about if healer die, B-res healer. This man's playing survival, trying to bark orders about Feral Druid stuff. So, I mean, we got mobs back here. I don't know. This is a weird. This only happens in 10. Let's put it that way. But I would definitely not fight this mob under most circumstances. I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was in the heat of the moment. But it's really not a good idea to pull trash and then kill it because now, like, there's just extra stress on the tank. Like, if this happens, you have to kind of just, say it sucks, but we can't kill that mob. Like, I don't want to rectify this. In this situation, you can rectify it. But if you're in other dungeons, it would ruin the key to the degree that, like, a single mob could literally ruin the entire key. So just something to keep in mind. But then again, we got a pretty odd group as it is, so I'm sure it won't matter too much. So anyway, so we were too far away from the boss on this fight, and 2 purple slime spawn. So I don't really know. I've never actually seen that happen. Typically, the boss doesn't die anywhere near that fast. What I would recommend is that people use CDs on the second phase, but that seems to be what they did, and it just died so fast that it actually caused problems. So I don't know. That's a weird something that I've never seen before. But obviously, you got to tank the boss, otherwise it's going to kill people. And even with 2 purple slimes, like, I mean, that's not ideal, but it's not really just not really going to wipe you, So, so we're here. Boss is jumping a little premature pull. Oh, this gets hit there. That will do damage to you. You definitely do not want to get hit there. He accurately dodges it. Let's see if he AMS's his first slime injection. Another good DK play here. It's a really big dispel. Does do it. Very good work on the AMS there. But yeah, so every time that cast slime injection comes out, you get AMS that. And that's going to definitely save some problems for your healer, especially if there's other dispels, like when the purple slime is out. It's also putting a magic dispel on you. And that's obviously not, if the healer can dispel that instead, then that makes your life easier. But so yeah, looks like they're going to get it no problem now. They need to kill the Plague Bomb first, but the purple slime is actually on somebody else. Like, it's just kind of walking around out there. I think they're talking about CCing it or something like that, if I remember correctly. But yeah, again, we got the Burning Strain. See, this is just kind of wrecking havoc. Somebody interrupts it accurately, but yeah, it's actually just on him. 2 Burning Strain disease dots on him. So yeah, definitely not. Why is there 2 eruptions there? I don't know what's going on in this. Those mobs, I don't actually know. You literally just like walk over them and they explode, I guess. I don't know where they even come from half the time, but. All right, so final platform, we're going to head out. See if anything of note happens, but this fight's like so easy, honestly. To wipe this fight, like, you have to have a bizarre series of events, and it does happen. But yeah, that time the Burning Strain shot at the priest, and he does not die or anything like that, but pretty dangerous. This mob jumping around is always a little dangerous, even as a tank. Like, if you get hit by that, you're in trouble. So good grip on that congealed slime, by the way, to stop that cast. But again, we're just not in range of the boss, so somebody interrupts it, or maybe it was him who interrupted it, but the mob has been interrupted, and that's a good thing, because otherwise you really, I don't even see, C1 is his interrupt down there in that right bar there, but Withering Filth, good AMS. He prevents the Withering Filth there, so it's pretty good. The disease is not, or the magic thing is not being dispelled, though. Look at that, 40 seconds left on that thing. Tell your brother, buddy. Yo, let me know. Your brother wants some coaching, too. I don't play a Holy Priest, but I could help him. No, but anyway, all right, so we're going to go up the left side here. Just kidding. I've seen somebody try that, by the way. When I was doing a leveling dungeon, somebody tried going up the left side. There's no left side. There's only a right side. So yeah, we're going to pull. This is my normal route. Typically, you would do this with Prideful, though. So he accurately brings that mob away. It's not really needed. I like doing it just because if you don't have anyone that can dispel, it should die before it drops the slime puddle right into the group. Not going to happen in this group, of course, but yeah, ideal. That would be ideal. Either dispel it or prevent it from dropping the slime puddle right into the mob, the tentacle, so you're not standing in the slime the whole time you're fighting the tentacle, and then potentially the prideful. But yeah, so no pride, so we're going to go here. I think he's going to avoid the right side, which is good because now you're going to get closer back to the splits we want. Typically, we would need 1 pack from the side, but we do not here. And look at the damage. You can barely see it because he's got this unfortunate UI setup, but yeah, he's doing really good damage on this pack considering he's only 208 eye level. That's really good. It's over 6k, almost 7k damage. And that's without pride or anything like that. So, and that was just with the unholy talent or unholy, whatever, not unholy, Maldraxxus thing. So whatever that thing's called, grip hands thing. He's going to swerve this pack at first, but then he realizes he needs it, but he probably didn't. Honestly, he probably could have skipped this because of the extra count we got earlier. Although I'm not 100% sure that. A good stun from the Feral Druid there. You see that bash icon? That's pretty good. Good little stun there. You can grip that mob to stop its shield. You definitely want to do that. Even when you pull that big pack on the island, definitely grip the shield to prevent it. Whiffs with the D&D. Oh, no. Oh, you whiffs. It's just standing right on top of those 3 corpses of slimes. See those slime corpses? It's just kind of standing right in between all of them. So if you just drop D&D so it hits all of them, you'll get the mob. He's trying to get that mob up. Ideally, he'd get this out with D&D. He would jump to the group, and then in the back, he'd grip the archer. But they do not need the archer because they're orb count. And again, Gorfiends works here, but he's already used it. You could also use the Grippy Hands thing spell to do that too. I don't think that's up there. No, obviously that's not up. And then we're going left first. Now we're going to run into a bit of an issue here because of the splits. We're going to have Prideful in the middle of the packs here, so definitely not what you're looking for, I think. Actually, does that happen? I've done so many dungeons, so many Plaguefalls recently. I can't remember if this happens in this dungeon or if it was in one of my dungeons earlier. I'm pretty sure that they're going to get Pride in the middle of this pack. Oh, but he's also going to die. I want to analyze this because I still don't fully understand what happened here. So let's see. So he gets hit by maybe a tornado. See, it's hard to tell with the UI, right? I can't really identify it. But this is, again, I think this is purely Will and Necropolis, the lack of it. So he's at 70% health right now. I mean, I don't see anything that should kill him. He's at 48, so he just dropped about 20% health from just maybe autos. And still at 42. Yeah, he goes from 42 to quickly 35 and then all the way to 0. Takes a 5.5k crit from something. That's a crit? What is that? How did he get crit? Yeah, so without the UI, I can't really analyze this for you, but yeah, I'll tell you this, you would definitely not have died if you had Will and Necropolis, so that's going to be a wipe. All right, that's just going to be his death one way or the other, and I'm pretty sure the Pride spawns here, doesn't it? I don't know. I've been saying that for a while. Let's see how they recover from it. Does he get the battle res? Yeah, he eats a res here. Hunter's going to go down 2, it looks like. Nope, they salvaged the Hunter. Okay, this is definitely prideful. So it's a good save. Good save. Battle res is not ideal on trash. Probably interrupted that. Always a little dangerous, man. These packs are definitely not easy, but good thing is about DK, they have good control of them. Yeah, so we're getting pride here. That's what I thought. So definitely not ideal. Honestly, what I would do... Actually, I'm not even going to say this out loud because I don't want you thinking that's a good idea. But you could just go boss here. Technically. Probably not worth it. On a 10, I'm thinking like, maybe it's worth it, but probably not worth it. But anyway, so we're going to fight Pride, then we're going to get more trash, so we're going to lose. Pride on this boss is really important, I feel like probably the most important Pride of the dungeon. This boss is really difficult to tank, even on Fort Weeks, and some of Fix is really complicated. That Feral Druid backpedaling almost into that trash, super sketchy. But anyway, you grip that mob in. Now, here we go. Big tip. Whenever you see an undead that is inspiring, control it. Make it your ally, right? It's just like the old adage, like, if you're lost in the woods, build a house. You've severely improved your predicament. You used to be lost, now you live here. Just like with inspiring. That mob is going to make your life a living hell. It's going to prevent all the other casts from being interruptible. Nope, now he's on our side. Seems like a no-brainer, right? I know not everybody knows about controlling dead stuff, but this is kind of the reason Blood DK is even strong right now. So they have a lot of small interactions with dungeon mechanics that can really make them really potent. So if you have any questions about what I would consider valuable to... so there you go. So he opens with Death's Due again. Or I'm sorry, Death's Caress. Literally like 1 yard away from the mob. So huge mistake there. Do not do that. That's definitely a wasted rune at that point. Just Blood Boil. Open with Blood Boil. You have Hemostasis. You want to get as many Blood Boils out as possible. It's going to be your highest damaging spell in most combat. You want to be using it as often as you can. So let's see how he approaches this. So he's going to throw D&D down, which is fine because he's not Night Fae. Unfortunately, as Night Fae, I have a lot of trouble with this boss because simply it's really shitty to waste a Death and Decay on getting these mobs out. So the Druid uses Vortex, which I still don't fully understand the rules of it. If you do, let me know. That Druid is down like Titanic, though. How has this happened? Trying to figure out, did he pull Threat? The man has the boss on him. Fuzzy Deeps, does he taunt? I think he taunts. There's no way he has Threat. Not doing 6k DPS. He's taunted, man. There's got to be a taunt. Let's see this, if we could identify. I don't see debuffs or anything on the bar, so fortunately, limited UI information. I cannot tell, but there's no... I mean, the guy's doing 7k-ish. You're doing 2k. I mean, surely, again, without Plater, just show me how much damage you're doing to the mob. It's impossible for me to know if this guy just pulled Threat and died, but if that is a threat, a natural threat loss, you gotta get better at that, man. That's a huge error. You just let a man die. So again, Threat, this is all going to be monitored with Plater. All add-ons can help with this. I don't know what you want to do to solve it, but that's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Also don't know if we have battle reses. I would definitely recommend a battle res monitor. I guess it's actually technically on the spell now, right? Yeah, you have 23 seconds left on a battle res. I see it on the bottom right there. I just use a monitor that comes with ORA, but I'm sure you can get a weak aura. But yeah, hardest pack, you see, feverishly clicking his defensives, putting up Mark for Blood with the mob at 2% health. Oh man, it's a tough spell to use. Well, I'm not gonna pretend it's not, but probably a tough spell to use. Period. At this point. Is he gonna get web wrapped here? Why is that happening? That's weird. Okay, so they're going downstairs. Druid's being rezzed. And we're good. We got 6 minutes left. This is tight. This is going to be tight, but I know they upgraded. So spoiler alert, they finish it in time. So this is pretty interesting. We have 84%. We need 85 if we want to just get Pride for the last boss. So we'll see what approach he takes here. This is a great room to have Super Strain on, obviously, because you can pull all three of these very easily and not take any damage from them, but put Super Strain on them. If you don't know about this, you could actually skip to the sides here. Yeah, see the Ragnaros Survival Hunter is now telling the tank how to do the route, but he knows he's done this before. There are some slime here too we can do after, so it's good to see that. But yeah, you can actually skip this. It's definitely easier with a rogue, but see again, you're pulling them with Death's Caress. Now, I understand if you're trying to pull a single mob with Death's Caress, but you should have just Blood Boiled them, right? Why would you not just run over and Blood Boil them? I mean, first of all, you would apply all 3 diseases to all targets, and you'd be doing crazy damage right now. And second of all, you would not be spending runes. I mean, you don't really need them because you're not fighting anything in melee range, but some rotational issues too. And there goes the Hunter. What happened to him? Did he get meleeed? The Survival Hunter wearing an MC hammer. Man has Threat. Raw, bruv. Man's got Threat. So is a Druid, I guess. Let's see what happens to Druid. So yeah, and that's because you do not have diseases. Like literally, before that Blood Boil right there, you establish no threat on 2 of these packs. I think the add-ons situations are holding you back, man. I really do. I think it'd be a lot easier to know that this is causing, like, while you're watching this, do you know that this is causing problems? Like, are you aware that you did not have threat on like 5+ mobs there? I don't know. Ideally, you wouldn't have a freaking Survival Hunter. You wouldn't have this problem, but yeah, regardless. But you see how like the bars overlapping, like the interrupt thing that's just trash, DBM interrupt, whatever this is like actually overlapping your health bar. I'll tell you this, regardless of what you want to change, you cannot carry on with this health bar like this. It's too important to know exactly where your health is and exactly where your Death Strike might take you to be able to play Death Knight. For real. I didn't realize that I wanted to say this until I watched your video. This is now an advice that I will give to every DK who is new to the spec. If you are going to play DK without an adequate health bar and an adequate like either the weak aura that shows you how much damage you took recently, or the weak aura I use that shows you where your death strike, your estimate of where your death strike will take you, you're going to get slaughtered. Like, it's too important. It's so freaking important. So let me know. We can talk about this, get this solved. But you still got a mob out there that's just running away. I guess you're talking to the player. So, but luckily, what did we battle? No, he ran. Okay, so Druids ran back. We can't actually see how much time's left on the screen because the weak, or it's not even a weak aura, the DBM interrupt tracker is actually blocking the timer. So you actually do not know what time we are at in the dungeon. Luckily, it's cleared up. We know there's 4 minutes left. We got men dead all over the place. This is tricky ending to the dungeon, but they will prevail. It's diligence like this. It's trying your best every time, even when you're using an agi weapon, even when you're clicking your defensives. Still, like for real, impressive. The fact that you're able to get to where you are is impressive. So he's calculating now. He knows he needs 1 slime, and that's exactly what you need. If you do not have 85 when you come down here, you will be 1 slime short. Another add-on I'd recommend is Angry Keystone, so because you don't know exactly. Oh no, they actually have enough. So I think it's like that mob gives like 3.5% or something. It doesn't give an even amount. So typically, I have like 94. But with Angry Keystones, I know exactly how it'd be like 94.5 usually with the route I normally run. And we know we need 1 more mob. But yeah, if you're like 94.7 or 8 or 9 or something, maybe that changed. I don't know. Anyway, so we got Pride here for first part of the boss. Pride always, if you want to go with boss and Pride here, always open. Try to save some CDs. As Blood DK, I would use your 2 minutes though. If you have a 2-minute CD up, I would use it on the pull just because it definitely will be back up for later in the fight. And this is definitely a fight that damage does help on. Otherwise, you're not going to have Bloodlust because you lost it on the 3rd boss, which without Pride maybe is the right call. This boss is pretty tough. AMS this rain, which you're not doing currently. Also AMZ, but it's not up. Use it on the Pride, I guess. So that's fine. Good use of that. But yeah, always AMS this rain. Basically, what I would do is either try to AMS immediately or let 1 tick go out and then AMS to make sure that you both mitigate damage and cover the full duration of it. Sometimes, like, it takes a while for the rain to properly go out all the way. So sometimes if you use it like, if I use it the second the spell started, that would be perfect. But oftentimes I'm going to use it to like anticipate it, and then I use it a second early or something like that, and then the final tick gets applied anyway. So if you're going to have 1 of the 4 ticks applied, you might as well have the first one applied, mitigate some of it, and then not have a stack of it when everybody else is dealing with it. You know what I mean? So anyway, just a slight tip. You're actually out of range of the boss there. Does that cause a problem? I saw the threat dump. Luckily, it does not. Wow, that's lucky. If anybody's out of range of this boss, it starts doing a hellacious cast. And that could have been a wipe right there. But luckily, she transitioned into the normal infectious rain cast. So she stopped the potential wipe there. It's pretty lucky, honestly. Now, this is a good time to use Death's Caress. Yep, applying the diseases on the targets you can't access, especially with Super Strain. But I would always try to grip 1 in. 1 or 2 near you is not a problem. You know, it's not ideal to get hit by too many, but obviously the quicker they get killed, the better. So good, very good heads up on this movement. Honestly, I play with people who are way worse at this than you are. So this is an impressive situation. A lot of globals being spent right now without Bone Shield though. And I do this all the time. It's tough. You really need something to monitor. I have multiple things to monitor, and I still suck at it. So something to keep in mind. But they crushed this. 1.5 minutes left with 2 full wipes, and frankly, a very poorly executed route. So let's recap. The UI stuff has been talked about far too much, probably. I don't know whose key this was or what group, like how it was formed. But unfortunately, you invited a feral druid and a survival hunter. And I know people are probably thinking I'm memeing about this, but like I'm serious. I mean, you invited a survival hunter. Like, what the fuck? So I'm not gonna say it's your fault. And honestly, I would blame the hunter, especially because he's from Ragnaros. But I would try to get a better comp. If you're pugging your key, it's your choice. You know what I'm saying? So don't settle. If you're having trouble with these keys, find a group that could bend the odds. You know what I mean? A lot of these mistakes could have easily been solved by having a pack of trees on them. You know what I mean? It would have been a lot easier for you. But it's hard to do that in these key levels, I'm sure. So yeah, so obviously we got to stop clicking spells. Like that's not you could click if you clicked your rotational spells, that'd be different. Honestly, click Hard Strike, click Marrow. I don't care. Do whatever you want with that. I know a guy who is one of the best players I've ever played with, and he clicks all his rotational spells. But you cannot click your defensive CDs. There's no way you're going to be able to play this spec by clicking your defensive CDs, especially when I feel, no offense, but I feel like you don't really have a command over what you're doing with them. Like I'm watching you press them in like just, you're pressing like 3 at a time. It's like that is not going to work with the spec. Okay. So let's find ways to identify your damage income better. If that's with UI, if that's with something else, whatever you feel comfortable with, let's find ways to maximize your defensive rotational CDs. Find ways to not overlap key CDs, not waste CDs. Use them at the right time. Best way I do this is with UI elements, weak cores, and stuff like this. So I can help you with all of this, but past that, you upgraded to 10 with 2 wipes. So what can you say? That was good work. 2 weeks ago, he was not even comfortable doing 10. So that's progress one way or the other. Very much looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Let me know if you're interested in more videos like this. I'm happy to do it. You know, I don't mind. I don't want it to be like a pay to win kind of bullshit. Like I don't care. I really don't care about money, but I want to help people. But you know, if everybody on the channel just submitted them, I'd never be able to do it. So technically it's a Patreon perk. If you want to talk about it seriously, let me know. We could have a talk, but I like doing stuff like this. I hope you guys watched it and enjoyed it as well. And I look forward to seeing what you have to say in order to help Geg get better.